The Supreme Court has a hole, and too much balance means a tie. When will the High Court have a ninth justice again?
But Republicans say they won't. They won't even hold a hearing. It doesn't matter how qualified the president's nominee is, or what the Constitution says, or what our country needs.
Partisan lines form for or against the president's nominee. We're going to hear from an interested observer in the fight in Washington. It's Congressman Ted Yoho. We also discuss the president's trip to Cuba and Yoho's fight to keep Guantanamo Bay under American control. Those topics and much more on This Week in Jacksonville. Thanks for joining us. Yes, indeed, Ted Yoho is here, United States Representative. Congressman, thank you so much. I know that this is one of those couple of weeks. Every now and then you get to be in district, as it's called. You're not in Washington, but still some of the information gathering here, right? You're talking with citizens and constituents about what's important to them, right?
Right. This is what a lot of people think we're on recess,
Yeah.
But we're not.
That's
we're here
still.
We're working in the district, and we've had 7 o'clock mornings till 10 o'clock nights ever since I've been back. And I love it because we get back and we get to hear the heartbeat of the district and the people in the district. It's so important to do that.
How many of the folks that you talk to are beginning the conversation with what's happening on the national scale? Presidential politics, especially in Florida, they seem to take everybody's attention and in some ways suck all the air out of the room. What are you hearing from folks right now about Republicans?
It didn't just start. It's been going, and we have a crescendo now, and we hear more and more about it. I mean, we get asked all the time, who are you supporting?
Right.
And I've come to the point in my career, and my personal beliefs is I don't want to support anybody. We're going to go and let the process work, and we'll go with the person that has the R behind their name.
So you ran for office a few years, 4 years ago. When
in
we
my
first
third year.
met.
That's right.
When we first met 4 years ago and you're running, were you a political outsider? Would you have been characterized that way?
I was kind of outside.
Yeah.
I had never been to a town hall meeting. I did my duty. I paid my taxes, and I voted every 2 years, and just got fed up. And I think what you're seeing today is an escalation of that aggravation with the ineffectiveness of Washington, D.C., and we're seeing it with the rise of Mr. Trump and Mr. Cruz, you know, the anti-establishment, those two people. And, you know, I ran it on that platform. You know, the thing, you know, the career politicians either led us where we're at or they failed to prevent it. And the only way you're going to change that is to send different people up there that think outside of the box.
Well, let's talk about somebody who's going to be leaving office pretty soon. That's President Obama.
He will be.
In his final year, less than a year now. And one of the things that you have talked about and even brought some legislation about concerns him. I know that there was the condemning and censuring President Obama House Resolution 582. Or what is that?
H.R. 588.
Okay.
That is strictly a censure resolution condemning President Obama's lack of leadership and action strictly on national security, both foreign and domestic. And if you look at the Libya no-fly zones that were created, and it was directed by Hillary Clinton at the time, that led to a failed state with Gaddafi being murdered, and it led to the rise of ISIS recruiting areas and training centers in Libya. So this is a holding ground for the ISIS fighters. So you look at that. You look at what happened in Afghanistan and Iraq, not heeding the warning of his military leaders and advisors, and we pulled out. But more importantly, you announced when you pulled out. That allowed the Taliban to move back in. The Taliban now has the largest foothold they've ever had in Afghanistan, and you can carry that through to other things. And if you look at domestic policies, not enforcing our laws on the book and not securing the border. You know, just 2 weekends ago in Framingham, Maryland, there was a young couple that was brutally beaten and raped by people that had been deported 3 or 4 times already. And our government is not enforcing laws that are allowing these people to come back in. And that young lady in San Francisco 2 years ago that got murdered by the illegal immigrant that had been deported, I think it was 4 times. And he had safe haven in a sanctuary city. So this is why we brought this up, and it was something, you know, it was something we felt was so important on our national security that we've got traction on it. We've got co-sponsors getting on this, and it's something just to bring the attention to, we have to do national security. That's the #1 task of our government, is to provide for the common defense.
Let me ask about something that happened recently, President Obama going to Cuba.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to talk in a few moments about something specific to the naval base there, but the president went to Cuba. He's establishing more normalized relations with the country. You've kind of been on record saying you're not in favor.
I'm not in favor of doing it the way we're doing it. I'm okay.
Why is that?
The biggest thing is, you know, you look at how that whole process happened. Cuba, we fought and liberated Cuba from Spain in the late 1800s, early 1900s. We leased a space from them in 1903. Since then, you know, Cuba became a kind of a republic and a democracy, and then the Castro brothers came in there. A communist dictator came in and overthrew that government. We're negotiating with a communist country, and I think the biggest egregious is President Obama is negotiating with the Castro regime, emboldening them, making them stronger. The Cuban people have less liberties and freedoms. More people are being harassed. More people are going to prison for speaking out against the government. So it hasn't helped the Cuban people at all. And as we negotiate, I would think we would negotiate from a position of strength and do what we can to help liberate more Cubans.
So, and I want to tie that back to what we were talking about earlier. So doesn't that help on the foreign relations and national security side if I have a better relationship with Cuba, regardless of maybe some of those social issues?
Well, what kind of a relationship do you want? Do you want a stronger relationship with a communist country that is working against us, or do you want a stronger relationship with a country that has the same ideologies as you? We're emboldening a country that is a known enemy of the United States. Just 3 years ago, they were caught shipping weapons and missile parts to North Korea. North Korea is rattling their sabers at us, and so you have the Castro regime. In fact, Fidel Castro
came out of wherever he's been.
Well, yeah, out of it.
He had some comments
out of his secure place. I won't say where. But 10 years ago, he went over to Iran and sat with the Ayatollah and said, "We have a common enemy, and our goal is to bring them to their knees. And that common enemy is the United States of America." This is who we're negotiating with. You know, it's not a friendly regime to the United States of America.
I want to ask you about something else, and then we're going to take a short break. Congresswoman Corrine Brown, one of your colleagues there in the House, court battles on a couple of different fronts here. She's suing about changes to her congressional district. She's also facing investigation from a health ethics subcommittee or whatever. Maybe because she's under a federal investigation concerning fraud and fundraising for a charity that doesn't necessarily act like a charity. So to you, is that distracting? Is it distracting to you and the work in the House of Representatives, to the people of Florida? Would it be distracting to the congressman trying to do her job?
I think, yes, it would distract from Ms. Brown doing her work. But I think the big distraction and the people it hurts the most are the constituents that she represents. We need to work through this. She needs to work through this. And I know she, you know, I've talked to her about this. She wants to work through it as quick as we can. But the whole thing is, if there is wrongdoing in there, it taints the whole party, or the whole body of Congress. And that's why we had introduced a bill called the Trust Act, which is trust restored to the U.S. taxpayer. It's a very simple bill. It's about a page and a half, and it simply states that if you're a member of Congress and you get convicted while serving, and that's a House, you know, a representative or a senator, if you get convicted while serving, you give up that portion of your retirement that comes from you, the American taxpayers. It's a common sense bill. It's the same thing that happens to our military, the very people putting their life on the line for us. So, you know, the best thing is let's work through this, let's root it out, and it is what it is, and it needs to be treated accordingly.
I want to talk some more, so stay with us, and you stay with us as well. More ahead with Congressman Yoho, including some of he's got a lengthy list of legislative priorities. We're going to talk about some of those things next on This Week in Jacksonville.
This is Pastor R.J. Washington of the Titus Harvest Dome. Join us on Channel 4 every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. We're going to have a God time. Yes.
Hi, I'm Olympic gold medalist Shannon Miller. Join me Saturday, May 14th at Riverside Park for the Shannon Miller Foundation 5K and Kids Fun Run. All kids run free, and all kids and 5K finishers receive medals. Register now at ShannonMillerFoundation.com or at any First Place Sports location.
I know what it's like to have back pain. When I found inversion, it changed my life forever, and I believe it can change yours.
To release the tension in my back with a teeter, it's great. I love it.
Teeter Hang-Ups is easy to use.
Just minutes a day in your own home to help relieve stress and tension, reduce joint pressure, and build core strength.
While inverted, your body weight creates a natural form of traction that gently releases muscle tension and reduces pressure for long-lasting relief of back pain.
A daily routine is a very good way of getting your back in great shape.
I could not believe that I could feel that much better that fast.
You can try the Teeter Hang-Ups in your home for 30 days for only $14.95, and we'll ship it to you for free. We'll also include 2 of our most popular accessories.
You can take my bike, you can take maybe my golf clubs, but I need my teeter.
It's one of my most valuable possessions, it really is.
Call 1-800-311-5105.
Are you one of the best singers in Jacksonville?
Prove it. And this 4th of July, you can sing the national anthem in front of the whole city.
And take home a fabulous prize because this year's Say Can You Sing contest is even bigger and better than ever.
Auditions are right here at Unity Plaza Tuesday, April 12th. Log on to newsforjax.com or the Channel 4 Facebook page for details and rules.
Oh, Say Can You Sing, delivered by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza.
At Brakes for Less, all we do are brakes. And not just a 2-wheel brake job, all 4 wheels for $139 on any car, truck, or SUV, foreign or domestic. All with a parts and labor guarantee. And we know your time is important, so we'll have you in and out fast. And remember, everyone wins Wednesday, when every job is 15% off. Brakes for Less, with 8 locations throughout Jacksonville, Orange Park, Jacks Beach, and St. Augustine.
0600, Jacksonville. One Navy wife, one 3-year-old, one sailor husband serving across the seas. That's why when Kristen gets up, she checks the News 4 Jax app and turns on Channel 4. Richard tracks weather, so she knows how to dress her little one for school. Crystal gets this busy 2nd grade teacher to work on time, all from a news team that won't waste her time. Oceans away, protecting your freedom happens. In Jacksonville, the morning show makes mornings happen. You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
I'm joined by Congressman Ted Yoho with us this morning, and we're talking through some of the things going on in Washington. I saw a note from your office this week that what you've been working on in Washington includes returning over $500,000 of taxpayer money from the office budget. That seems pretty big. Co-sponsored H.R. 173, the Death Tax Repeal Act. And then you introduced a resolution blocking President Obama's transfer of Gitmo detainees to the United States. I want to hear more about that and something you and I have talked about previously, the Guantanamo Transfer Prevention Act. Tell me how that works and what exactly that means. Is that connected to the detainees, or is it connected to the naval base at Guantanamo?
That's a great question. It's both.
Okay.
We put in that it would block the transfer of detainees to the United States of America. And that language is already in the National Defense Authorization Act. The reason we put it in this bill is our bill would make that permanent. When it's just in an authorization act, that's good for a year. So you have to renew it every year, you have to get it passed every year. Whereas if we make it permanent, it's done. You know, the worst thing we can do is to bring those detainees to America, the cost, the security risk. The proponents for this, or the opponents of us bringing, keeping Guantanamo open, is they say that ISIS uses this for a recruiting tool. And I don't believe that. I mean, are they going to use that more of a recruiting tool, or would it be more of a recruiting tool if those people were in the heartland of America? And so keep them where they're at. The prison's already there. The infrastructure's already there. The security's already there. And so let's leave it there. And I'm okay with closing it and removing those people. There's 35 people that have already been vetted that should have gone to other countries. They haven't done that yet. There's 3 people that'll never be released. And then there's that balance of 55 people that there's 91 people left on the island. And if you look at the Guantanamo Detention Center, 94% of the people that were there have already been removed and gone back to other nations. We've done a pretty good job. So there's only 6% of the total that have ever been there are remaining. Let's work through those, but we don't want them on the heartland of America.
Have you been there within the last year? I've been there to the Joint Task Force Detention Center and seen the conditions there. a lot of people still have the kind of notion of what happened at Camp X-Ray.
Right.
And that it was torture and those sorts of things. Have you been there and seen the conditions? I have not been there,
but we've studied it. We know people that have been there. We've, researched it and all. And it's a pretty outstanding facility. I wouldn't want to be there. I don't want to be in any facility. Right. But it's a good facility, and it provides for the needs of the people, and it provides for their culture. But you were talking about the transfer of Guantanamo. There's two separate entities. There's the Guantanamo Naval Base, and there's the detention center. We acquired these when we liberated Cuba from
1903
Spain.
Or what have you.
Yeah, it was in the late 1800s. Yeah. The lease was signed in 1903. It's 45 square miles. And in that lease, it says the president, a president, can, through executive action, transfer that structure back to the Cuban authorities. And there's two ways to do it. One is by executive action. The other way is if we vacate the property, it automatically goes back. And if you listen to the rhetoric, and President Obama went to normalize our relationships with Cuba, and again, he bypassed Congress, and he used his phone and his pen, and this is not the way to legislate. You get bad policies this way, and then we have to wind up backing things up. But as he did this, one of the stipulations of the Castro brothers, both of them, said, the only way, no, America, the only way we're going to let you normalize relationships with us, they're calling the shots, is if you give us back the Guantanamo Bay, the naval facility, world-class naval facility. It's national security interest for us in the Caribbean. Can you imagine if we give that base back? Not only will you have the Cuban government there, you'll probably have Russia, China, Iran, possibly North Korea, or all five 90 miles off the coast of Florida.
All potentially.
Who would you rather have that?
United States.
The other thing, it's a platform we use for humanitarian and search and rescue in the Caribbean. And when the earthquakes happened in Haiti, that was their launching platform to do humanitarian aid. So this is a national security.
Pretty important for me.
And the goal is not just to block President Obama, but any future president with transferring that without going through Congress first. So I think it's just a smart bill. And we're excited because it's passed through our House Foreign Affairs Committee.
I've got to ask you about this, and that is what's going on with the Supreme Court. We saw, even this week, I saw that there was a split decision there concerning union and what have you. What's your thought? The House, members of the House don't get to interview the presidential nominee for the Supreme Court, but it sounds like Republicans are trying to block that from happening.
Yeah, we're kind of a spectator sport in the House. We get to watch these things. The underlying thing that we all need to voice a concern with is the Supreme Court is supposed to be the weakest branch of government by design. They're the weakest branch of government. They give opinions. That's what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to legislate from the bench, and we've seen this in the recent years. And the other thing that is so important with the Supreme Court is to preserve the integrity of our Constitution. And what we've seen is some constitutional challenges that have sided away from our Constitution. You know, if you look at King versus Burwell or some of the marriage amendments, those are states' rights issue, but the Supreme Court felt necessary to step in there. And so this is a very, very important decision that needs to be made. And I'm being a conservative. I think it would be better to have a conservative in there than when you look at the nominee and you look at his record. He's got what I would view as an activist position, and I side with Joe Biden on this. You know, back when Joe Biden was a senator and President Bush wanted to have a Supreme Court nominee, he was up there saying that we should postpone this until the next administration comes in, and I agree 100% with Joe Biden.
Congressman, I appreciate the time. Great to see you,
yes,
and appreciate that when you are in the area, we get a chance to hear what you're working on in Washington.
It's my pleasure, and I appreciate what you do, getting the word out to people, and just it's so important people get involved, informed, and engaged.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks,
yes,
Congressman.
Sir.
Well, stay with us. Coming up, mover and shaker Donna Orender is joining us. That's in just a moment, because it's time to talk about Generation W. The founder describes what's new and why it's here next in This Week in Jacksonville.
Our website is a great place to go to learn more about us, the results we've had. We have 24/7 live chat, answers to frequently asked questions. It's a good resource to go to.
Harrell and Harrell. Don't settle for less than you deserve.
Make tomorrow awesome with Xfinity TV from Comcast. Right now, you can get Xfinity TV for just $19.99 a month for 12 months with Xfinity On Demand included. Call 1-800-566-8080 today. Xfinity On Demand delivers thousands of hit shows, top movies, and more at no additional cost. So you can catch up on the latest episodes of TV's hottest shows anytime, anywhere. Switch to Xfinity TV for just $19.99 a month for 12 months with Xfinity On Demand included. Plus, ask how you can add HBO, Showtime, or Stars and enjoy award-winning TV shows and movies at home and on the go. There's no term contract and no early termination fee. Plus, it's all backed by our 30-day money-back guarantee. So it's risk-free. Tomorrow could be awesome if you call today. Call 1-800-566-8080. That's 1-800-566-8080. Xfinity, the future of awesome.
Channel 4 is a proud sponsor of the March for Babies. Form a team and raise money to support the life-saving work of the March of Dimes. Register at marchforbabies.org and meet us on April 23rd at Everbank Field Lot E.
Come celebrate down-home country fun at the 30th Annual Clay County Fair, going on now through April 9th. Get your tickets at claycountyfair.org. Don't miss out on all the fun. claycountyfair.org, paid for by Clay County Tourist Development Tax Funds.
Last week on Taxes of the Heart, we learned that Sophia owed over $10,000 in back taxes.
They've started garnishing my wages. What am I going to do?
Emmanuel, the handsome gardener, told her about the Tax 10,000 network.
The experts at Tax 10,000 work with the IRS and state tax agencies directly. They can help end wage garnishments, stop collection letters, and lift liens and levies.
Desperate, Sophia called Tax 10,000, and with their help, she was able to pay much less than what she originally owed. Grateful for Emmanuel's advice, she professed her love.
Don't you see? I have always loved you.
Sophia, my love.
But what will happen next? To resolve your own tax problems, call the Tax 10,000 Network for a free tax debt analysis.
Call 800-604-2690. That's 800-604-2690. Or go to tax10000.com.
How to shake your sugar habit and still enjoy sweets. He says that removing toxic foods like sugar from your diet makes it almost impossible to have a heart attack. All New Oz.
Monday at 4 on Channel 4.
And welcome back to our studio, Ms. Donna Orender. Thank you so much. Founder of Generation W, now in its 5th year in Jacksonville. So, Donna, you bill it as an inspirational, transformational conference. Is it just about women? We've talked about this before. And you
we
say
have
it's
talked about it. I mean, it is bigger than that. We talk about if we just think about women's issues as women's, and it's like, okay, it's for them to take care of. But these are issues that are human issues. They're for all of us. It's all about building community, about building better people, better companies, better families, a better world. And I'm happy that we have, like, I think between 40 and 45 incredible speakers.
Wow.
It is a national level event. We draw people from all over the country who have great accomplishments. But you know what's great is they love coming here to Jacksonville. You know, when you first started, they say Jacksonville.
Yeah.
By the way, even the people in Jacksonville say,
why Jacksonville?
Why Jacksonville? And you know, we've turned that. We've turned that.
What's the answer to that? Why Jacksonville?
Because Jacksonville is a vibrant, forward-moving community with fantastic people and phenomenal women.
There it is. Jam-packed. This is a full-day conference.
It's a full day.
What are the main themes, I guess, as we get into this rendition of it?
And thank you for that question. I mean, we focus on education, inspiration, connection, and we're moving also to action.
Okay.
At this stage of my life, okay, we need to talk. But we've got to get stuff done. We've got to do.
Not enough just to talk about it, huh?
No, so, you know, listen, there's a lot of leadership. There's personal, professional leadership. But this year in particular, we always try to choose 2 main issues over and above all the other ones we have. And there's a panel called Mission to Serve.
Okay.
And we really wanted to focus on women in the military. What an interesting segment of our population. It is a very rapidly evolving, changing area. And when we started work on this 9 months ago, who knew that Secretary Carter, right, Ash Carter, would step up and say, women, they can be, based on talent, they can be, that's right.
Yeah.
And so we have 4 of the top military women from a variety of the services joining us for a really open, terrific conversation.
So one of the things that I wanted to get to, so you have this full day and this conference and you inspire and motivate, but then do you wait around for the next year? And I think this Mission to Serve, you just sent me something that That's some of the action that you're taking there. Is another event coming up April 26th?
April 26th. So we know that when people hear about women in the military, and then what we want to do, because it's a national event, but we want to dig deeper. What makes this unique gathering different is that we dig deep in this community. Most of us stay here with each other, and so we all look at each other and say, what are we going to do? I can take on the world tomorrow. What should I do? And so we know that people are going to be interested in not only learning more about women in the military. I mean, Jacksonville is the third largest population of women veterans in the country.
Wow.
Women veterans don't necessarily raise their hand and identify. They don't necessarily go all the services that they probably are deserving of. And so thanks to Florida Blue and the city of Jacksonville, we'll have a follow-up discussion. We have Admiral Jackson.
Right, Mary Jackson.
Right.
Right here
Head of the Southeast.
NAS Jackson.
NAS Jackson, but she oversees 18 naval installations, so she's very senior. Retired Admiral Marty Evans. She'll be joining us, as well as other active personnel, and then also people who are involved in creating services for women veterans. So we really want to see how we can help, support, uplift, and educate people who have an interest in the people who make sure that we live the life we do.
So we've got about 2 minutes left, and it might take this much time just to talk about it. But one of the things that I saw mentioned was that there's a major research project coming on women's leadership, a scorecard. What does that mean?
Well, we have this wonderful author named Jay Newton Small, who's currently on the campaign trail for Time Inc. She's a writer, released a book called Broad Influence. And her premise is well-researched, which is when you get to a certain threshold, 20 to 30% of women in leadership, in companies, in politics, in law enforcement, that's when you begin to see change. Huh. And we said, okay, that's great. Then we all have a responsibility to figure out where we are in our communities. If you want to create change, you need to see it visibly in front of you. All of us, every single day. What is our scorecard? Where is women's leadership presence? And we have aligned with CCI at UNF. We've got data. Audrey Moran's going to present some of this research. And I think collectively, it will be really powerful. And what we hope will happen is communities across the country will say, wait a second, where do we stand?
Yeah. So it could start here and then spread out from there. Is there any room for people to come this coming Friday to Generation W?
Absolutely, absolutely. www.genwnow.com.
We've got a graphic here. You can see where some of the info is. It's coming up on the 8th, and there's some of the registration stuff. You go to newsforjax.com/community calendar, and we'll get you the info.
And we have tickets set aside for some of our women veterans. If you call our office, we are pleased. They've been underwritten by some of our really caring companies, as well as individual women who said, listen, if there's someone who wants to come, I want to buy a ticket for them. So if you're a veteran and you're watching this, please call our office.
Fantastic. Donna Oringer, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
You're just the
much
best.
success as you get into this. And thank you so much for watching this morning. This Week in Jacksonville, airing each Sunday morning at this time. And next time, the yearly county health rankings were not kind to Duval. What city leaders in the Medical Society plan to do about it.
At News 4 Jax, we're always covering the news, even when we're not on TV. Stay informed, on the go, and online at news4jax.com.